Hey everyone! Happy House of the Dragon night, guys! What an episode! Oh my goodness. I am super, super, super excited to talk with you guys about tonight's House of the Dragon episode. Hold on, I need to change my wallpaper. It's going to drive me crazy this whole stream if I don't change it. Guys, episode 4, time to talk about that episode. I think this one had a really great build up to battle and a really consequential ending. However, as we all know, I'm a huge fan of the sneak peeks and definitely a fan of always watching the kind of behind the episode like take that HBO will give us. Oh, guys, my mic wasn't on. Guys. Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me start over. Happy Sunday night, guys. Happy House of the Dragon. Happy House of the Dragon night. This episode, what I was saying when you couldn't hear me, is this episode had such an excellent build up. However, I watch always the behind the episode and the sneak peek for next week's episode. And I feel like they should have, I know they weren't going to just like with this episode not give us a sneak peek or not give us behind the scenes, but I feel like they should have cut it differently and or cut certain things, because I won't say it right off the stream because I want to remind everyone, first and foremost, this is a spoiler stream, okay? We talk spoilers here. So if you haven't watched the episode, go and do that and come watch the replay of the stream tomorrow or later tonight. Whatever you want to do. But my personal opinion is that the sneak peek when they go, is he alive? I'm like, why did you leave that in though? Because they ended the episode in such a bold way that was such an important statement and really does, your interpretation of it does really heighten the intensity of the next episode, right? And yet I feel like they kind of fumbled that by including one of their two of the things that the showrunner said and one or two things that were in the behind the scenes or the sneak peek for next week's episode. And I just wish so badly that they wouldn't have done that. Otherwise, I'm 100% on board with this episode. This episode was so great. And I really want to go back and like put all the Daemon Harrenhal bits together because I was trying to get the stream up and loading. Because guys, I 100% forgot it was Sunday today. Like, I'm so sorry this stream was not scheduled prior to 9 p.m. I totally forgot it was Sunday. I totally forgot it was House of the Dragon Day until about 10 minutes before the premiere. I threw a load of laundry in, ran upstairs, scheduled this, watched the episode. And I also changed the thumbnails for some of the other live streams thus far, so you don't have to look at the same thing every week. But oh my gosh, I just know that something bad is going to happen to Daemon, and I don't want anything bad to happen to Daemon. But I think the way that this episode played out was a level of consequence that really needed to happen at this point in the season. I think that the slow burn of this season is really necessary because we are treading into war. And I think even like Rhaenyra's kind of lines this episode about, I needed to be sure there was no like chance of this not continuing before I actually really escalate things. And I really loved the fact that, it was taken to that level this time now that we knew our answer last episode, because again it makes that conversation have consequence. And seeing Miss Alicent go crazy, seeing Alicent go crazy trying to find the histories that Viserys had to try to find the prince that was promised prophecy to try to like tell if Rhaenyra was telling the truth or not. And I'm like, girl, you still know you're not going to do anything even if you found a book, but like she needs to know. I think she's just on an infinite spiral. Like, she had her little medication. Cole could die. Her little side piece could die. Her sons are being stupid once again. Well, one of her sons is actually really smart and the other one is continually being stupid. But like, she's basically just stuck at home at the will of like her family. And now knowing that Rhaenyra, she basically told Rhaenyra like, girl, there's nothing we can do. Like, sorry, there's nothing we can do. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so she is just like spiraling. I want to cover all the characters and then I'll get to y'all's comments. Y'all are flooding the chat and I so appreciate it. Actually, no, let me pause. Let me get to your comments now. But to wrap up the Alicent thoughts, I just think it's so funny to watch somebody like her who last season was making power moves left and right and who I really kind of understood the positioning of. Now she is like struggling to make any type of significant change or have any type of reasoning about anything, quite literally. So, okay, let me get y'all's chat over here because y'all are giving me some good, oh, y'all got a lot of thoughts about this episode. Okay. Nick says, I have got to learn another language. Fun fact, High Valyrian is on Duolingo as a language. I don't think that Dothraki is, but High Valyrian is. So you can go on Duolingo and learn High Valyrian. So that's just a fun fact for everyone in the chat. If you die, all is lost. No, listen, I really love Aegon's character. I'm going to be so honest. Like, I think to me, Daemon will always be my favorite. Okay. But he to me is the most interesting character because he is such a loose cannon of insecurity. Like the thing about Aegon is he wants to do anything to prove that he's worthy of being king. But what he doesn't realize is the king is the one position that you do not earn. It's your actions as king that dictate whether people think you're a good king or not. Like after you're gone, like Viserys at the time, like because he had peace, like people were like, oh, he's a good king. But that was after ruling for a long time. And like, he is somebody who like he's almost like coming to terms with the fact that he's a Nepo baby. And he like is like, no, but I want to do something. But he can't, he has actually no skills. And he just has this like, in this young teenage insecurity of I have to do something important. I have to prove my macho-ness. And he's quite literally messing up his own possibly life, his own battle, his own plans and plots. And like we've seen it in smaller actions thus far, but I think this was so fun. And this is where I do know a little bit about what's going to happen in the book, which I won't say here. Book spoilers are not here, just show spoilers. But I kind of want them to deviate a little bit and like possibly like I want a storyline where Aegon is dead or like mortally wounded and they're trying to hide it, like that there's no communications going in and out, because I really want not Melisandre but the White Worm, I want her to come in and be like, guess what, Aegon's dead. And then that would be cool if he was like, whoop, rising. But two things they said in the sneak peek, it was like, is he alive? That I kind of just feel like, unfortunately. Also, I'm like, there is no shot that Sunfire is still alive. Oh, another thing. Oh my gosh, sorry. The other thing I thought that was so well played in this episode, I have to talk about this right now. Again, I did actually think this in the episode, not that it's important, but, and I didn't just get this from the behind the scenes, even though they talked about it, but the way that they all use High Valyrian, hold on, I need a pronunciation. This is going to drive me crazy. High Valyrian pronunciation. High Valyrian. How do you pronounce? No, not like the actual language, but okay. The point I'm trying to make is High Valyrian, the language that the Targaryens speak, and specifically that the dragons speak. To me, it is so, they use it so well here, because High Valyrian in season 1, I think the first time that we heard it was really between Daemon and Rhaenyra. It was like their secret language, right? It was this like secret world of understanding. Matt Smith talks about it in his behind the scenes of like the blood of the dragon. So it was used there to represent this very significant relationship. It was used here in this episode to represent also an heir to the throne, and the Aemond and Daemon are the same. I saw this week that like Aemond is Daemon with the D at the end and in front of it instead of at the beginning. But it's this tumultuous relationship between this person who is supposed to be in support of the heir, but technically is also a challenger to the throne. And in Daemon and Rhaenyra's relationship, they speak it pretty equally well. Like it's like a secret language between them. But here we see that Aegon does not speak it nearly as well as Aemon does. He has a very rudimentary vocabulary, and even the way he speaks to his dragon, like he speaks in English to the dragon other than Dracarys, versus Aemond and Rhaenys speaking to Vhagar and Meleys respectively in High Valyrian. That is just so good. That is so good. And I feel like this show, Game of Thrones and now House of the Dragon, have done such a specific job and good job of like the significance of these languages that are made up of Dothraki and now High Valyrian. And I think it's so cool to see it used here, because this is something that like I don't think they got to do as much in Game of Thrones, because I think High Valyrian at that point is supposed to kind of be like a dead language, and for that to be here, I thought that was such a good character distinction. And I think the fun of season 2 so far for me personally has been less about the battles and the plotting and more so about these character dynamics, because the way that we get to see Aegon struggling, and he can't even, it's not even like he can speak on the same level of this language, like he in every way is ill-suited for the throne in every single way. But that doesn't mean that like Aemond is better suited for the throne, because he was ready to let his own brother, his own king, but his own brother die. And I just think there's so many different ways that they are like, I love the fact too that this season has very much been A happens, then B happens, and then C happens because of A and B, and then we restart it again. And I feel like everything has been very intentionally driven, versus last season. Even though I loved last season, please don't get me wrong, getting to see these like very intentional like this very specific causality happen across events and across episodes, like very directly, is different than kind of the time jumps that we got last season of like, oh, okay, this has been a couple months. Oh, okay, this has been a year. Oh, okay, this has been 10 years. Like, we are getting a much more tightly linked series of events. And I think the path to escalation, especially now that dragons have become involved in this war, is just going to go like rapid fire from here. And I love the way they're building this season. I think it's an excellent writing job. Okay, let me get back to your comments. So sorry. I just had to go on that rant about High Valyrian because I just, that was one of my favorite parts of the episode. Also, yeah, Aegon was like, I was so sad. I love the Targaryen like jugs that have dragons in their goblets. They have like dragon wings on them, and he just smashed that. And for what, Aegon? I thought this was great. I thought this was a great episode. I think it dealt with all the characters it needed to really well and set up a really high stakes ending of the episode. 9 out of 10 for Ando. I'm trying to think what it would be for me. I'm going to have to process it a little bit more. But yes, incredible episode. The score was great. When Meleys is falling, oh man, I was just like, and the acceptance. I am actually like, it actually very deeply affected me that Rhaenys like sacrificed herself, because, also, can we talk about the fact that I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a bastard son? The guy that saved Corlys. Corlys, your wife looks like that and you're still out on the sea finding a sea wench? Are you kidding me? What? And he's got a shaved head. If I'm wrong, somebody tell me so I don't sound like an idiot. But Corlys, and now she's dead. The minute they did that, I was like, oh man, something's going to happen to her. Somebody's going to get her. Jack, you're so right. So Rhaenys had every opportunity to escape, but she decided to fight for the good of the realm. And I really loved that also, because it's not dragging Vhagar further out to Dragonstone, because at that point she had accepted the fact too that they had been played. That had been a strategic maneuver to draw out a dragon, to have them lose a dragon. She did as much damage to the king as she could, and now she needed to kind of finish the job as much as possible, even if it meant sacrificing herself. I think it's also, she to me was like the hand type person on Rhaenyra's side, the person to give really sage advice and to really kind of like force Rhaenyra to proceed with caution, as well as to keep Daemon in check, as well as to understand like the plight of being a mother and somebody pass over for the throne. And so I think it's pretty significant that she's the one that kind of deals this damage to the usurpers, if you will. So I thought it was crazy, like, when I never would have thought of this before, but this is such a great attention to detail point. Like, when Meleys has attacked Sunfire, I'm learning the dragon's name, okay? When Meleys has attacked Sunfire and he's bleeding, as he's like going across the battlefield, his blood falls and it like burns everyone. And I thought about like, at first Christian was like, oh, what? Like his blood is like acidic. And I was like, yeah, well, it makes sense. He's a fire breathing dragon. Like he has to have hot blood. That's the only way that makes sense. I thought that was such a great touch and such a great way to like add, like even when the dragon is not intentionally attacking a human, not like burning fire, breathing like fire. The dragon is not like attacking anyone. The dragon is not breathing fire. It still does insurmountable damage to whoever is in the crosshairs. Like that was not gonna, the blood falling from Sunfire isn't going to like benefit one side or another. It's just gonna fall on whoever it falls on. And like, I also thought it was so, there was a point I was going to make about how the people who like Cole, I thought this episode 2 gave Cole a really great character. I can't speak. I thought this episode gave Kristen Cole a really interesting character arc. I still hate him. I still want him to, you know, a dragon could just chomp him and I'd be totally fine. I'd be cheering. I'd be clapping with all of us. However, I think this episode, again, with trying to show the significance of this war is going to have meaningless casualties. Like the way they're setting this up to be such a tragic war for the Dance of Dragons, to be this absolutely just like avoidable, unnecessary, tragic situation in the Targaryen family past is so good to me, because they have already set it up so far as Rhaenys's line, which I think will be the line of the season, of everyone is going to forget what started this. They're not going to remember that Viserys named one person or another. They're not going to care. They're not going to care that Luke died, that Jaehaerys died. Like, everyone's already forgotten the two of them. Like, obviously not their mothers. But, like, everyone's kind of just like, okay, it's escalated beyond this point, right? We've got those two very significant deaths that you could say kick it off or, like, keep it going. And meanwhile, you've got the two people responsible directly for that being just, like, going crazy and trying to kill his own brother. Okay, so anyways, there's that. But so they've set that up, and then they've set up, okay, nobody's going to care what started this war. They're just going to care the effects of the war. Then they had the really great, the Blacks and I can't remember their names, but the two warring people who, like, kind of are using their like allegiance to Team Green and Team Black as like their continual generational war as like a reason to finish that off, and they all kill each other in the Riverlands. We have that. It doesn't matter who's on whose side. That was even said this episode. Like, we don't really remember who was on each team, but like, sorry, I just got a YouTube error message. Okay. What am I trying to say? Sorry, I'm trying to focus my thoughts. They said that it doesn't matter what's going on there. And it also does not matter when these dragons show up. When these dragons show up, the military thoughts or like prowess that Cole might have, the strength of the men on the field, the how insignificant or significant this little fortress and like seaside castle is. When the dragons show up, everyone is lost. Like, everything is lost. And I think that's just so, the way that they have used that single thematic element of this season and built upon it each episode is so, so good. Okay, back to the comments. Ando says, I'm Team Black, but 100% feel bad for Aegon being betrayed by his brother. I think it's so, I really love getting to watch Team Green fall apart, and maybe it's because I don't like a lot of them, but I also think it's because you have basically a bunch of people who have kind of no business, like weren't there for half of season 1, right? Like, really only became important players at the very, very end of season 1. You have all these people, and getting to watch basically this family feud just unfold on their side. Like, obviously it's across both, but like with Rhaenyra going to see Alicent and trying to secure peace, you see that for her, and with her conversation with Jace this episode, which I thought was excellent. I mean, it was supposed to be very much like a Game of Thrones, like Easter eggy, you know, oh, get the fans excited. But I thought it was so good because for her, she says to him, like, I don't want to wage this just for me to sit on a throne and me to have a crown, which is also so great because that's like the whole Game of Thrones crap until the White Walkers show up. It's just a bunch of people fighting for a chair and a crown. And I think it's so interesting that we have this woman like years before, hundreds of years before, and she is so focused on, this has to be for this important thing that my dad told me, and I'm going to buy into this fully and believe it, because that's what the conversation for Alicent did for her. And we have her wanting to wage that war, versus on Team Green, we have a bunch of people who are trying to justify their own importance and significance to the realm, to the people, to their position. We've got Cole, who his white cape means absolutely nothing. His vows mean nothing to him, yet he's trying to seem like this great military leader. And he's not a bad military leader. Like, he's winning all these battles, but like, he is insignificant when it comes to the dragons. Alicent, her daddy is gone and her son will not listen to her. She is insignificant. And she just realized, oh, this thing that I have raised my children to believe, absolutely wrong, absolutely a lie. I misinterpreted the situation. We've got Aegon, who is desperately trying to get anyone's approval and anyone to tell him he's doing a great job, and he wants people to just like think he's doing good, but he actually is an idiot. Like, he's literally an idiot with way too much power, and enough power to kind of ruin not only himself but also the realm. And then you've got Aemond, who hates his brother so much, who also hates the other side so much. Like, oh, it was so good when the knife that Aegon was carrying was the knife that took out Aemond's eye, that Alicent held at Rhaenyra. Like, that was such a significant little prop, and I think we need to talk about it more, because that being there was so, to me, he sees that. Well, Cole, I guess, sees it on the ground. Or Aemond Aemond kneels down, sees it, and kind of walks away, and that's when Kristen Cole falls on his knees. But that being there was such a, yeah, this all are these silly little one-off insignificant mistakes or situations or misunderstandings that have spiraled into this absolutely collateral war, where at this point in the story, one of the two options for the throne might be dead, might be gone. And oh my gosh, it's just so good. So good. Yeah, I think Aemond is way more like Daemon, and I think it's really cool to see him kind of rise into this somewhat villainous behavior and make these choices that, like, the same way, like, oh, is Daemon like marrying Rhaenyra because he wants the throne, or because he loves her, or some combination of the two? Is Aemond taking out his brother because he wants to be king, or because he's actually trying to like take out a dragon, which was the whole plan initially? Like which is it? I feel like as Daemon is kind of having these ghosts of his past basically start to haunt him, Aemond is like building what those ghosts of the past are, and it's simply so good. It's simply so good. I can't get enough of it. Aemond picked up Catspaw and it was burned. I wonder if he saw the prophecy on there. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think so. Now, wait a minute. Catspaw, nice prophecy. Sorry, I just went full Google mode. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. But I think for him, that would give him even more reason to like kind of want to get rid of Aegon. No? Because he'd be like, you must learn it. Yes, Nick. You need to learn High Valyrian. You really, really should. Vhagar is like the Winter Shoulder. He just shows up, makes it hard for everybody, and then disappears. I thought that was great. When he told him to wait, when Aemond told Vhagar to wait, I was like, oh, this is going to be such a good episode. It's going to be so good. He's scheming a little bit. Scheming. Him and his brother, or maybe not his brother, I don't know. But him having a shaved head sealed it for me. I feel like, what was his name? Corlys. Hold on, I'm going to look up if he has a bastard son. I'm not going to tell you guys what I found. I'm going to let you look it up on your own. But I think a shaved head, as we all know, Laenor, when he escaped and didn't want everybody to know that he was still alive, he shaved his head. And I don't know, if you're not a maester, I don't see a lot of people with their shaved heads. So anyway, food for thought. But yeah, the minute that he popped up, and I was like, why is Meleys like touching this guy's face? I was like, why is she flirting? And then I was like, oh my goodness. And I think at that point, for me, what that signified, even though obviously they seem to be older, so if they are Corlys's bastard children, then like it would have happened a long time ago. But think about Rhaenys' position. Like, she has had both of her children die because of the embers of the start of this war. She has had both of her children die. She has held on to her grandchildren, who she can't really be with anymore. And then she has also, like, she sees her dragon die. And to me, she realizes her husband has at some point had a bastard child. And then she sees her dragon die. And to me, that's when she really lets go. Because she's in it for the fight. Like, she tightens it. She's ready to go down. But there's a level of when Meleys looks at her, when Meleys looks around and looks at Rhaenys, and there's this acceptance that goes between them. I think the other thing this episode did so well, and what I loved so much about this episode, is the way that it really showed the importance between the riders and their dragons. That significant relationship, because we obviously kind of knew that Dany had like a huge connection with her dragon, but she's also the only person with dragons. And here we have seen like Laena and Vhagar sacrificing her when Laena couldn't give birth or was going to die in childbirth. And then you've seen it, but I think in this episode you really see the significance of like a battle, how that bonds a rider and its dragon, as well as the fact that these dragons have kind of their own language and thoughts and feelings and stuff. And not thoughts and feelings, but like that they are too connected with the rider, and that they kind of can understand a battle and if it's won and lost. And it's just simply so good. It's so good. Yeah, that little moment between them when after Vhagar attacks and Meleys looks back at Rhaenys, I was like, this is so good. Such good character-driven storytelling. It's so good. I love it. Yeah, if Rhaenyra did go, we could have lost both heirs. And I don't know why she like wanted to go. I was kind of getting annoyed by that, actually. I was like, girl, you did not just sneak all the way to King's Landing, not tell anyone. Like, honestly, I'm for Jace being mad at her. Being like, girl, what you doing? Why are you trying to ruin this for all of us? Like, we are trying to support you. I still need a little bit more background on the people on Rhaenyra's side, other than that poor guy who's like, did my father survive? Also, what was up with the beheadings this episode? Like, we nearly got 3 by the time we got to Meleys. Nearly 3. Which was, you know, like, okay, like, what's his name? Why can't I? But then again, okay, listen, as we're speaking of bastard sons, Jon Snow, I always forget that he was a bastard. Oh, wait, no, he wasn't. Why am I being stupid today? Why am I being stupid? He technically was not. Eddard Stark. That's what I was going to say. This episode was giving Eddard Stark with the amount of that we got. But yeah, and Philip, you're so right. Never smart to embarrass the guy who holds your army's most powerful weapon. Truly. And I think that's something that like Aegon can't even put together, that Aemon would have hatred for him for all these years. And truly, I kind of understand Aemon's position too. I'm starting to not understand Team Green's positioning as like, oh, we're the rightful heir, but like each character's motivation. And that's what I think is so interesting, is none of them actually really have the motivation of like getting the throne. They all kind of have these like side plot motivations that are so much more interesting. And I think that's where kind of Rhaenyra's kind of prophecy and the Prince That Was Promised and Song of Ice and Fire kind of is her backing on her father's legacy. Like when she says this episode, I inherited 80 years of peace, and kind of like, it's unsaid, but they're the ones that ruined it, essentially. Like them and all of their actions is what ruins it. She has suffered so many things in her life and experienced so much, and her father fought so hard for this peace that she was supposed to just inherit, and she would have been the ruler that would have listened to the wiser amongst her. She would have been the one that would have taken advice, but Aegon is not. He's the complete opposite of that. And I think what's so interesting is we see, and this is what's really making me want to go see season 1 again, because I think there are so many like little seeds there that I think would be so much more appreciated now that we've seen kind of some of them grow to fruition. But we have like Aemond liking Helena, and Aemond getting passed over because, well, Aegon needs a queen, so we're gonna do it this way. And Aemond not being the most loved son because he was second, and he was technically third because none of them were loved as much as Rhaenyra was. He loses his eye. He hates his sibling. Like, he does so many things as a child, like getting Vhagar in the first place because he wants to prove himself. And he almost got lucky because some of the things he did as a child were smarter and better thought out things that kind of Aegon is doing now in his adulthood. But Aemond almost like he also wanted to earn the title of king, but it's a title that can't really be earned. That's kind of just something that's given, which I think is so good. But yeah, him seeking, like, I think both of them seek their mother's approval. I think both of them seek this feeling of something earned, but because they are highborn Valerian or Targaryen children to the past king, and they've now been caught in a war, there's kind of no, like, none of them can kind of go off and do their own thing, which they probably wouldn't anyways because they're highborn. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of them would go and, like, join the Night's Watch or something and just be like, da-da-da, like, I'm proving myself, I'm earning my spot, which I think, again, is also what's so interesting, is creating these characters to be so different than characters we came to love, like Jon Snow. Like, kind of creating stuff that is so distinctly different. And guys, give me your final thoughts on the episode, because I think I'm about to call this one. This was so fun, but I'm running out of thoughts, and I feel like I gave my all to this one because I really enjoyed this episode, and I think there was a lot to analyze and a lot of, like, follow-up from past episodes. I really enjoyed this one. I am still going to try. I have a busy week ahead of me. I'm going to try to get you guys some new content. I gave a little tentative schedule of stuff for this week. It all may just be, like, honestly, like, when I have time to do things, because, again, I've got a little bit of a lot going on this week, a little bit of a lot, and I want to get new content for you guys. Thank you all so much for being here and talking about House of the Dragon. I love it. I will be trying to get those clips out again as soon as possible. I know we're like 4 episodes into, like, what I'm assuming is going to be 10, but I have those. I'm trying to edit and get them done for you guys. It's just, again, a matter of having the time to do it. But thank you all so much for being here. Have a wonderful evening. By all means, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. If you enjoyed these live streams, I do them every Sunday. We will be back, of course, next Sunday to watch episode 5. I'm going to be here supporting my boy Daemon, supporting Team Black, and trying to just analyze and revel over this show that is so wonderful for all of you guys. Thank you guys again so much for being here. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, y'all.